All right, trade review time. I'm going to keep this short because all of my trades are going to look the same. So whenever we review the day, it's either going to be a win or a loss. So as you can see here, this is the MYM. Why did we take this trade? Well, because on the NQ, we were here and we were near no, I'm going to call it demand, support and resistance zones, break and retest zones, key psychological inflection points. That's what I'm going to call that. We opened up and we weren't anywhere near that. Not doing that. If you looked at the overnight session, we had a massive dump. Okay. Are we in a downtrend though to continue that short? You can look at that and say we had a massive overnight session. I'm not touching the New York session. A lot of people might have made money today simply trading mean reversions. That's not a high probable trading setup. Just a random mean reversion thing that we're going to revert a little bit. That can be in the thought process, but that should not be the only reason you're taking that trade. That should not be the only reason you're looking for bullish movement, right? There's my execution on that short right there. Let's go ahead and take that off. We had this zone here that I was watching for. We got close to it, but in the morning when we opened up at 9:30, we were not anywhere near that, and I wasn't looking for a short at this point. We were just in the middle. Same with the MES. We were just in the middle. No true support and resistance zone. Nothing near us, but I'm looking at MYM. Okay, where did I take this trade? I wanted to look and see if we could push down to this demand zone, and I'll get to that. But I'm not buying off the push into it. I used to do that a lot. I would buy right here and say, okay, my stop can be here. No, I'm waiting for some sort of tight range compression. Okay, it can happen on the minute chart, and I want to see the break through that. So I bought here on the breakout, right? While we were chopping around here, I'm looking for our second entry. I'd want to see that build up in the breakout. So I bought the breakout there as well. Look at the execution. I wasn't buying down here, okay? I wasn't buying in this area. I want the breakout because we could fail, okay? If I go back, just as a quick example, to the MNQ, right? When we had that compression, let's talk about a failed compression where we don't get the breakout, right? Right here. Same way it works on the minute chart. If you don't get that breakout here, we're not stuck in this trade. Now, obviously, we wouldn't be trading the overnight session. We don't get stuck in that. So go back to here. We're trading the breakout of that compression, and I was just trailing my stop. I was taking partials, right? Because I wanted to see the pop through here, not sweeping liquidity. I just wanted to get that sell some into the buying pressure. Okay, I think I did take off here just in case we had a seller step up again, right? Taking off some here on the next push and then holding a runner because this could be our bigger compression, right? We get our box like this, breakout. Nowhere in here should we be, fearing a reversal. Okay, we're not putting a set take profit at this high here and exiting our entire position right there. Take some off, take the bulk of the position off on this good move. I mean, we entered here and here, and our stop had been moved here. So it was break even with like a small $100 stop, and we trail it all the way up to here because I do not want to be in this trade through here into this demand zone right here. So we're going to zoom out and look at those zones. There's no reason. This is consistency right here. If I can do this, not every day, because just like if I looked at MYM, if I looked at MNQ today and I saw that on the ES and the MYM, I would not have even taken a trade today. There's nothing there for me to take the trade. I pulled the trigger on this because everything aligned. We had our clear demand zone, we had our clear compression, and we were continuing to move higher. So I'm just holding my trade and I get out. So what if we move higher the rest of the day, right? We had a break, right, above here, break and a hold and a retest with a higher low here. But I was done for the day. I don't, let's talk about the compression at the anchored VWAP. That's another reason why I wanted to get in this trade so heavy right here and add into that when I had a position down here. Adding into the winners, taking some off and letting it ride, okay? And we ended up reversing, especially on MNQ, but holding this zone here. I don't need to take the second trade. I'm good with that. If you're not content with this, right? Because my main goal was to make $600 a month just for rent. We're sitting at $519 in 2 days. So um it's not even about, I used to say in these videos, I need to learn to get content with this, and I used to want to hold this trade right here and be the hero and hold for the higher low right here and ride it up here and then continue to hold and get out there. The stress of that, why not load up your position heavy here, scale out, and then have a runner, take it off on that big movement, and sell right into that demand. There's no reason to be holding this trade into demand or buying into the demand, trying to buy right here when we just had a seller step up in this major demand level. That's just ignorant and greedy, and I no longer want to do that. This is consistency to me, right? This is consistency. This is what I was looking for yesterday on MGC. See, I was watching this breakout below this level here, right? We are in a downtrend right now on MGC. So look at these. Every time we get through it, we pop and we go, break and we go. Where is that trade? Right here. So the same thing that I was looking for on MYM, demand level, we have our compression, we're buying the breakout. Now, again, I said I was trying to fix my like margin requirements because I had started this new fake live fund paper trading account, how I'm going to be trading with live money. Bad fill, but this is where you want to be buying that breakout. We got the compression and we failed. So when we start failing and the buyers aren't stepping in and popping through here, I'm just exiting the trade right here, right? Still made money on this trade. Only a little bit, but I was in the trend. The trend ended and I'm out. I didn't fear into this pop in the, like this looks like what the MYM did today and gold failed. That's why I'm not buying. It's really all pattern recognition. And when you finally have set rules for yourselves, you don't fear missing out on things like that. This is the same thing that happened on gold where we pushed up and we failed. I wasn't even thinking about that during the day. I was just thinking about, I caught this trade right here while the trend was continuing. We're going to pull back. The trend could continue, but I don't need to get in it because I got mine. Okay, that was a lot. So with that being said, right? You take a look at the Dow. Let's go to market replay. This is where we were at market open. Go back to right here, right? If you can't look at this right here, close this a little bit and see that at this point during New York session, which is where we really want to be looking, we had a seller step up here, big seller step up again. We traded down here, seller step up again. We tried to get through. We compress. We finally popped through and gapped up because this is very obvious that we're going to be breaking through this and they're not going to let the people get, for some reason, the market just doesn't let you get the easy trades. We gap up and you can't take part in that trade. What happens when we return? Okay. If you're selling, if you're looking at this area right here and this isn't on your chart, right? Where's my hiding thing? And all of a sudden you're looking at us making lower lows and lower highs and you think that we're in a downtrend right here, you're going to get screwed. You're going to try and short. You're going to look for the break below this level to go short. I mean, that's just human psychology. But so is this. So is the fact that we had a seller step up. That seller no longer could hold his position, and now the buyers are defending this level. And what happens when we come here? We push down and continue to hold this level. Why? Just because we failed to, make a higher high here, why would you look at this level here when we return to it and think, I'm going to be a seller here? Like, even if you don't want to be a buyer looking at what the market did yesterday and overnight, there is no reason to sell in this point here. And that's what I'm getting better at. If it just doesn't align, like say we did break through here and I wasn't part of the trend, I still don't want to be a seller at this point right here. It just doesn't make sense. This is our break and retest area, key psychological inflection point. So that's where this zone came from. I like the fact that we had these bodies, right? I don't know why that just doubled. We had these bodies right here that we swept. So anybody right here, right, they're trying to squeeze some, I don't know, their stop loss. They're going to move it up to the bodies. I don't even know if you want to call that a sweep of some sort of liquidity, but I was just focused on this zone. And I didn't put a limit there, or I didn't put a limit on that zone saying when we tap into it, I'm going to be a buyer. I'm watching what happens, right? I liked that this chop happened and then we pushed lower and then we, consolidated. We got tight and we compressed and we broke through it. I mean, if we were lethargic and whipped down and whipped up and whipped down and whipped up, I wouldn't want to take part in that. We got super tight, super compressed, and then we broke through, and that's where we entered. So, if we take a look at what happened with gold today, I was watching to see how gold would react to certain levels. And if you notice here, we had, I'm going to go to the 15-minute over here. In the New York session, we had seller, 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 seller. We tried to break through. We couldn't really get up there. We came back, and the buyers really picked up at this point, and we broke above it. Now that we're above this level, I don't really want to be, a seller near this area here, but we didn't come to that demand level for me to be a buyer while we're making a low, a higher low, a higher high, a higher low. Where in here do I want to be short? Yeah, sure, we broke through at this point, but we totally could have just came through, and then all of a sudden this is just a range, right? This just becomes a range where we come down to here, whip back up, kind of what we're doing now. What I just looked at, speaking right now, okay, anybody who's looking at this level as some bounce point, okay, and thinking, okay, we just broke that, the buyer that was here, this is exactly how you need to be thinking right now. The buyer that was here, people are now thinking he is no longer there, so we should continue lower, okay? What I just noticed while I was talking was I had my zone marked not that well, okay? Let's break this down. If we had a seller here who continued to push us lower and we couldn't break through it, if we were to have traveled up from here and continued higher, this would have been a great area for the break and retest zone. But what happened? We tried to get through and we fell lower. If we tried super hard to get through up here and we couldn't do it, what would have had to cause us to move higher from this area right here? From right here. What would have had to cause that? Oh my God. It would have had to be someone with a massive order. Okay. That's where we're at right now. Someone with a big, I mean, look at the energy on that right there. Okay. Look at anybody who's, let's talk about supply and demand for a second because I use those words interchangeably. I know that there's a lot of people right now. I don't know what is going on with the chart. They have this marked from here to here as an entire demand level. I already know that. Entire demand level. That is 138 to 73. It's like 80 something points, 70 something points. Was that 30, 60 ish, 70 ish points? There's no reason to have your zone like that. Where did the true buyer step up? He stepped up right here. This failure right here tells you everything you need to know. The zone is not right here. So this needs to come off. And if you notice something, that happened on the overnight session. So that already told us that that wasn't really a clear bounce area. Now, I do like the fact that we just broke below this, okay? Anybody who had stops there, we're now shaking them out. I wouldn't call this the last area. We just have to wait and react. But I'm sure not going to be a seller anywhere in this area. That's what a lot of people are going to do. They're going to see this area that's now broken, and they're going to think, okay, we're continuing the downtrend, making lower lows and lower highs. They assume, and I'm still trying to come up with a word for this. When you didn't enter up in this area here, okay, and I know this from experience on just how my mind works. Through this whole movement here, you're not, if it'll load. Okay. There's just a constant battle in your head. Okay, is this the low where we're going to continue higher and this might be a reclaimed ripper that pushes us higher? And you're continuing to flip your bias here and here and here, and we're really just in a range. Once we get to this level here, you might be pretty confident, that we're going to go and continue to push lower here, right? But really, what your stop would have to be above this high here. And so the risk to reward for that is like this. Just just terrible. And you don't know if we're just going to come sweep this low or if we're going to continue moving lower and lower and lower. I mean, that is just terrible risk to reward. And you're just hoping that you're on the right side now because you've seen stuff. Now, what happens is we come down to this area here and they go, okay, we just broke this. Now we're really in a downtrend. And so they're looking here. They're like, that's not going to be my high. Somewhere in here is protected. I don't know if it's this high or if this high. Oh, and they look at this fair value gap and they go, we pulled in the fair value gap and we're going to keep going lower. I just don't know from where. That's exactly what the mindset is. I know that for a fact. We're going to keep going lower. I just don't know from where. Not understanding that this is resting right here, because if you're not looking at this, I mean, you're maybe looking at these highs, right, thinking that this should hold. You might be looking at these lows down here. This is the area right here. If this was 9:30 in the morning and we had this low sitting right here, and I might be doing a review tomorrow of this happening, and we had this low sitting right here, we come down to this area and we get a compression, you better believe that that's A plus. And on top of that, we're not just firing off an over leveraged position, because we understand that you can have everything right and you can have your edge and the plan can still fail. Okay, but it's a series of trades. So you execute on the trade the same way I did this morning. You know, we had, if you were to ask somebody today, hey, are you buying, not on market open, but are you buying the next day after a dump like this? They would say you're crazy. You're out of your mind. We're in a downtrend. We're in a heavy downtrend. This is a range, okay? So we don't trend. And when you're in a range, you don't have the trending traits, or you don't have the traits, the market traits of a trending market where you compress, push lower, and then have a clean compression here and continue pushing lower. Look at this bounce here. This is the zone we have, right? Why? Because same way on gold. We had seller step up. Seller, look at the wicks here, right? Let's even go to the minute here just so we can see this. And really see the battle here, the struggle. Just someone is just pushing this market down, just not letting us go up, right? And we finally break above it, meaning that a buyer stepped in somewhere in here, a strong buyer, to finally get us above this level. So when we return to it later, we do not want to be a seller. Look, this is the trade that happened on YM today. I have to sneeze. Same concept right here, okay? Even though we've tapped into it before, you're not going to be a seller. We might have broke this low, and this is what I'm looking at for gold. We might have broke this low, but we're at a key demand level. So we're not shorting into that. If you don't want to take part in buying, that's fine, right? Okay, and let's also look at why. Well, actually, no, because it was kind of the same thing, ish. Yes, it's kind of turning into like a market review for tomorrow. Let's go ahead and do it with NASDAQ. Yeah, let's go ahead and do it with NASDAQ. The consensus stays the same. So when I talk about ranging, consolidation, where we go to the daily chart. Oh yeah, we have to go to the continuous contract. Okay. Okay, fine, you win. When you talk about ranging, I'm talking about something like this. Okay. So you need to be able to identify quickly what kind of market condition you're in, right? This becomes search and destroy. So I remember reviewing this, like, I don't know, a couple weeks ago, trying to figure out the best way to trade ranges like this. And I had been looking at, go ahead and get rid of that. I had been looking at this and I was saying, okay, this is a clear, break and retest level. We had huge sellers here and we finally broke above it and we were compressing through it. We had our compression here. We got super tight. We broke above it and the buyers didn't want to continue. And that was the cue that we were going to have a big sell off here. And so I kind of realized that, at this point we understood that we were in a range, and everybody here is thinking that we're finally going to break out of the range and continue moving higher and begin trending. You do not want to. You can anticipate the trend beginning, but you really don't want to be, the first one into the trend. You want to see this compress and continue higher, and then you understand that we're in a bull trend. I mean, a bull market, and you continue to look for longs on specific break and retest levels. So this was a key factor on why I was looking at shorting. I mean, it almost looks identical. We have this key area here. We compress above, try and hold, and we fall below, which is the same thing, you know, as a ranging market. So yeah, we had a small trend here, but I mean, this range could be from here to here. It could be this entire thing. We don't know, and it's not as clean. But I'm, definitely not sold on any trend sticking around for too long and being clean, like compressing in the morning and then continuing, compressing and continuing. We're gonna get a sweep and reversal. So let's go back to here. So we have our zone here that held. We definitely are not going to be a seller in there. Now, this area here. Okay, so this is kind of like a learning thing, not for me, but a teaching on how I draw my zones. Right now, my eye is looking at this. Okay, my eye went from here, and I was saying, is this a strong zone? Sure, we had, buyers step up here to hold this level up, and I looked to the left, and I wanted to see if we were being held down by anything for a buyer to push us through. Okay, we had this clear high here. So I do like that a strong buyer was strong enough to push us through this area here. And then I look to the left here, and what a lot of people miss is they're only looking for swing highs and swing lows. Really, right here, I am now continuing to look left, because if this could potentially, and I don't know it yet, if this was potentially a big seller that stepped in right here, this would be a very, very good level. So we have a big seller here, a big seller that stepped back up, right, at this area here. And then we have at this point right here, we have a buyer that defended this area and was able to propel us up. Okay. So, and you can see it's slightly lower. So we got weighed down by this seller. Okay. Buyer steps in here, propels us up. So even though we could potentially break below this level, I'm not going to be looking for the break and the retest right there. And so what? If you're saying I have too many zones, I mean, really, this is just, it might be a battle zone down here. We're just constantly chop. What I found is when I not confused, but when things start, aligning like this, if I just trust my process, it's like, oh yeah, it did just end up chopping. I didn't miss anything. I was correct in my analysis that if we break below here, it's no shorts are going to step up because we have demand right here. But we're not going to buy here if we broke below this level, because we could potentially sit in this area right here. Why not? Let's talk about that. Why not? And this only comes when you finally just want to make rent money and you're not trying to make $5 billion a month. Why not, if we do end up coming down here and breaking below this level, we're not looking for the retest on this area. Why not just sit here and let this thing develop, right? Say we do break above here and we compress and we break higher here. Now, what I can do is understand that, okay, this level held, we compressed, we're kind of starting an uptrend. I'd like to see maybe us get above this area here, and I could potentially look for the long play here, down and up like that. You don't have to take a trade every single day. You don't have to know what's going on every single day. But this is the area that I'd be watching for. Um, and I really like this area because anybody who's looking at the charts this way and they're drawing their zone here, right? This is totally where they would draw their zone from this high, touching these lows. If we were to break below that, they're either looking for shorts or they're stopping out of their long position, and I can swoop them. I can swoop up right down in this area right here because they're not looking at the fact. I mean, it's basic human psychology. You see highs like this, lows matching, you're going to pair it up, but they're not really reading the story of we had a massive seller right here propel us all the way through here to break these lows, and then we were returned, right? We returned to this seller. We got held down. We didn't want to rally in the afternoon. We tried to see it the next day, right in this candle here. Tried to rally, couldn't do it. Tried one more time, pushed. Oops. And someone that was stronger than them pushed us through here. So I'm definitely going to take my chances being on the side of this buyer right here. And if we completely cut through this like butter, then I understand that he's not there anymore and sellers might take control and I'll just have to see what happens from there. But another SMH. Wow. Wait, what? Is today Monday or Tuesday? Today's Tuesday. Monday at 3:45. Oh wow. I didn't even look at the SMH today. I know that we were rallying yesterday while the other markets were just getting obliterated. That is crazy. Wow. Look at that gap. Mm-hmm. All right. On she wrote. So that's what we're looking at. Let's go ahead and take a look at the Dow here for a second. Get some coffee. Okay. So extend this out a little bit. And I don't even want to talk about this anymore because it's just so dumb. But when I sold up here, it's easy to say you had one runner on. Why did you not just hold through here and try and break through this area and then hold through the break in the retest? There is literally nothing in me now that wants to be holding trades through supply zones because I mean, look at that. Like, what is the point of sitting through all of this downturn, this pullback just to get up there, and then this is the range, and your stop would have to be under here, and you break below there, and you could have just gotten out at the break below here when we stopped compressing. I mean, let's talk about the trend here, okay? Candle, break above. Base, this was kind of like a flat base. Breakout, continue going above. This would have been where your stop is at. We never swept it. Continue moving higher. This is definitely where I would have gotten stopped out, right? And that's how the trade should look, and you're out. Who fucking cares if it goes all the way up to the demand or the supply up there? I mean, that's how I'm feeling right here. Who cares if we push up a little higher and get a pullback and get up to here? There's no point in me sitting there for an extra 20, 40 minutes, 30 minutes when I can just ride the trend. Now, I should have just held this and maybe gotten out here, but I didn't want this massive reversal to catch me off guard. What were we looking at? These videos are always so long, bro. I get immersed. Okay. I mean, if you're not using these levels, what are you doing? Look at this. High, rejecting it, push above, come to it, hold it, break through, retest. Look at the wick, downwards. Why would anybody be a buyer down here? But we got a fair value gap right here. But we got a fair value gap. Huh. That's in OTE. Let's see where point let's see where 0.62 is actually. 0.62. See if it aligns. Make it. But it's right. Look at that. Right in OTE. It's right in OTE. And you get freaking smoked. I spent way too long. I spent way too long freaking trading this way. Oh my god. If you look at this and you're trading OTE Judah swing in the fair value gap and this thing starts reversing, number one, doesn't even pull into a fair value gap, maybe on the 2 minute or something. Yeah, so your risk to reward, even if you got in right here, which nobody's doing, um, your stop goes there. Okay, to have a positive risk to reward, you're now targeting the highs up here. Okay, we'll even call it that. And say this thing comes back down, you definitely had to sit through some drawdown, but then you're like, oh, we swept this level, now we're gonna go higher. And though we swept this level, now we're gonna go higher. I can no words to describe how long I spent trading ICT concepts. Anyway, I mean that is the perfect ICT trade. I think my levels are good. I'm just trying to see what the trend alignment is kind of looking like. We're kind of stalled a little bit. So yeah, we're definitely in a range on MYM. I have my, you know, I had my box here because I wanted to label this as a reclaimed ripper, like this. So when you have that, that's your pivot point, and moving with the trend. My daily's on. Is that really the 10-day right there? So we got the 10 and the 20, bounce off the 50. We are getting extremely tight on YM. Really tight. But the volume is not really there. I want to see that volume really dry up and get super small. Almost like this, like down in this area here. See, Yeah, I don't know. I guess when it's not really clear to you, gun to my head. There is no gun to my head. That's the thing. I won't have to trade MYM if it doesn't look clean. I'll probably wake up in the morning and it's gone up 400 points. So there's really no need to even like be sitting here watching this. But what I will say is we are holding bullish structure. Lows defended. Like this. Defended, defended, defended. Yeah, I mean, we're kind of just stuck here for the time being. Um, I would expect anybody who's playing, from high to low to end up getting, kind of destroyed as we continue to compress lower and lower and lower and eventually get a pop at some point. But for now, okay, so gold just busted through this area here. So all that tells me, this is great. So say at 9:30 this happened to me. All this tells me right here is that this big buyer right here did not want to step up. That's a big energetic candle. Get a wick through that level. Can you imagine? This looking like a reclaim ripper to me. If this potentially becomes a reclaim ripper, we want something like this. That's what we'd be looking for. Okay, well, this is not what this video was supposed to be. So we had, what did this look like on the 15? We had a seller try to push up and a big buyer down here step up. He wants to reload. Mm. Yeah, see, for this, that was a big shakeup. Like you imagine you put a bunch of little ants in a bowl. That just stirred a lot. And so there's there's a lot of movement right now. There's a lot of stop outs. There's a lot of people um, flipping positions, entering in out of FOMO, thinking something's gonna happen. They just don't know what. Um, I personally, for me, would want this thing to base out and somehow create a bear flag in this area. Yeah, this is looking like a Good old reclaim ripper in this zone right here. It was a big energetic candle. Let's see if we get a breakout right here. Stop goes below here. And this is how you do it. This is just when you see the trade, you enter. I mean, this was where my buyer should have stepped in. Get more of a breakout, and this is how you add right here. If we want to reverse a little bit, and we don't, so those orders are not going to get filled. I don't want to add anymore at this point. Stops coming below here. And this is how we're executing on this, all right? It's the same exact thing, the same concept I just showed for my other executions. And my orders would have got filled. I don't really want to continue to add when it's not as energetic. There we go. We always have the potential to pop down here a little bit. So stop's not going to go to break even just yet. That's energetic enough for me. That was a reclaim ripper. That reclaim ripper is the most important aspect in the game right there. And it's not about what is, sorry, I don't know what I was gonna say. Swing highs and swing lows. See, it doesn't take much. You see it set up and you just execute. I mean, as soon as this push below, I'm anticipating a reclaim ripper because I know how strong that buyer is. So now how we manage the trade here is we can't really move our stop up at all right now. We have to allow, at least 2 candles here because we're not going to choke the trade, but we just want to continue seeing, compression and a push up. It's kind of cool. I didn't think this was going to be in the actual video. Yeah, I mean, so 593, I would have hit my monthly target of trying to make rent in 3 days. Wire that out. Now this is a big pullback, but you have to remember for this to work, we could always come to these highs here. I didn't mean to do that. I was trying to do this. Come to these highs here. And I'll pull this up just to show a healthy trend. Compress, push. Compress, push, compress. We want to be getting out of here before this major pullback. And I always like to see, a lot of people, they're hesitant here, right? This is how psychology works. They're hesitant at this low here to be the seller at this point because this was a major low. But once we break this one, that's their confirmation, and that's where we get our long position. So when we break through this compression here, we're then pushing higher. And I've been playing this really safe. Like, I'm content with $66 on a trade because eventually, and I've been doing this a lot. I've been moving my stop. Our stop's going to be at these highs right here. I'll give it some room to maybe come below this low. I don't want to squeeze it too hard, but that has been something that I've been struggling with, so I'm going to work on it right now of continuously sliding my stop. Like I would be sliding it down here to give it room. I have to be content with this. We're seeing what we want to see, and if we get that reverse right here, I'm good with that. Because you always have to understand this could become a bull flag, where we make a lower low here, and anyone who's scared and squeezing their stop, that's what happens when you over leverage. That's why it's key. I cannot be, trading with too much size. When this thing does break this area here, I'm not too fond of this candle closure above here and no push. However, look at the volume. Volume's drying up drastically, which is what you want to see on a pullback. That's really good. If this candle was right here, I would be getting out of this trade. You want to see volume dry up on pullbacks. And it's easy to play devil's advocate. The reason I don't really like this is because we had a wick and we pushed higher. We had a wick and we pushed higher. So people are trying to get in on this little pullback. Remember, this could be the break and retest area, but I'm not willing to go back to complete break even. So my stop now goes below here because if this is a reclaim ripper, the bodies are going to align like this. And if it doesn't, we're most likely going to fail. And I'll give an example on MNQ yesterday. Right here, where we had the same flagging pattern with the reclaim ripper, we continued higher. Just like this. And I don't really like that movement right there. On the 2-minute, this can still become that area. And the things I'm watching during this is, this is repeatable right here. Understanding we can have the reclaimed ripper. We got our entry right here on this breakout. And we're just riding the trend, right? Look at Tesla again. Tesla was not a straight green bar. It was pullback, high, pullback, and stopped out there. But that's how, that's what you need to do. You need to be able to execute right here, and you can't say, hey, let's talk about this real quick. Say this thing does push up, okay? On gold yesterday. This is such a key learning experience for me and everybody because it just makes it so much stress, so much less stress having to think about, like right here when this failed and this area here, I was sitting here and I was saying this potentially could pull back to this area if it'll load, right? Same concept. The breakout, and this could be our retest area, which it kind of became a little bit. And I sat there and I got out of the trade right here when we fell below these lows here. I don't want to be part of that trade anymore. And then I saw this happen. And I was like, wow, I just got swept and we're continuing higher. But, I made some money on that trade, so I was done. And what happened? I would have been sitting here re-entering, and then where would my stop be? I don't know where my stop would be. It would have to be here. I would have to revenge trade here, and then my stop would be here, and this candle would have taken me out. And then, I'm thinking, did that be, like, ride the trend. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Like right now, like, so what if this thing continues going higher? I mean, you want to take part in the trades. The ones you want to let run are the ones that are clean. You know, the pullback and the push, the pullback and the push. Look at this right here. If you were to revenge trade right there, now all of a sudden you're about to be underwater, and you probably added into that position. I mean, that's just name of the game. Series of trades. Look at this though. Is there a minus? Is there a minus anywhere here? 39 bucks. 85, 22, 179, 48, 77, 107. This just consistency. I don't need the massive home run. I'm not sitting here trying to trade the macro trend of gold, right? Now on the 2 minute, this thing is holding structure really well. So maybe I need to stop choking my trade so much. But then, at what point do you're leaving money on the table because eventually you're trading with a mini. And this area from here, right, that 39 is actually $300 on that trade right there. I'd rather take 390 consistently and maybe leave, a massive runner on the table than continuously break even, break even, break even. I'll just take my 390. So I'm not going to make this video play out any longer. Last note I'll leave is when this does occur to me, when this does happen to me, I've revenge traded so much and I would totally re-enter this position right here. And then you look back and you got chopped up right here because you knew you shouldn't have revenge traded, and then you already broke rules, so you might as well break another rule. If you just sit back and let this thing develop, the buyers didn't want to step in as heavy as they should have, as heavy as I wanted to see from an area like this. You look back and you see this thing just sit in a zone or completely fall off the face of the earth, and you're like, good thing I didn't re-enter right here when I thought that I got liquidated before we continue moving higher. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. Series of trades. So again, the goal is monthly rent every month, and we're at 558 out of the 600 that I'm gonna need in the first 3 days of this account. So, um, yeah, proud of myself, proud of how far I've came, even if no one sees nights like this. Um, I'm gonna probably mark this part of the YouTube video to come back to later. I never really saw this kind of success. I would have chased into here. I breaking retest levels. The same reason I'm anticipating a reclaim ripper. I'm not gonna be shorting right here, okay? The retest. The first thing I noticed was how violent this candle was to the upside. If this thing had trickled back and based a little bit right here, I might have been looking for a break and retest short. We didn't. I looked for a compression. I got the compression. I got the breakout. I'm taking the trade. And I'm riding the trend as long as it's gonna allow me to, without a fear of leaving money on the table, without a fear of, FOMO. So catch you guys in the next one, baby. Oops.